Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 North Carolina Lupus Education Summit. And this presentation is on living well with lupus. My name is Daniela Spear, also known as Coach Danny. I'm an autoimmune movement coach and owner of Remade Wellness. And I'm so excited to speak with you all today on some tips for living well with lupus. These are some of the tips that I have used to significantly reduce flare-ups and tips that my clients use to also reduce flare-ups and live a much happier and healthy life with lupus. So I'm excited to share with you this information. I'm going to share my screen and we'll dive into the presentation. Okay, welcome everyone to Living Well with Lupus. Again, my name is Daniela, aka Coach Danny, and owner of Remade Wellness. Let's go ahead and dive in. A little bit about me. I was diagnosed with lupus in 2008, so about 14 years ago. And shortly after I was diagnosed with lupus, I was also diagnosed with lupus nephritis. Some of the symptoms that I experienced early on prior to my diagnosis were hair loss, digestive issues, sleeping issues, skin rashes, and most significantly, joint pain. All of those things can very much be reversed. So a lot of what maybe you experienced, I have experienced also in the past and sometimes still do when I have a flare up. So know that I'm coming from a place where I completely understand how you feel, and I've been able to take on a lot of what I'm going to share today, make it my own, make it fit into my lifestyle, and have a much healthier relationship with lupus. I got my Bachelor of Arts in Exercise and Sports Science. I graduated in 2014, and I've been in the fitness industry for about a decade now. So I think according to Google, that makes me somewhat of an expert. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm very, very passionate about speaking on exercise and autoimmune disease, exercise and lupus. We are going to talk about some movement today, but we're also going to incorporate some other healthy lifestyle practices. I started as a group exercise instructor in 2013, and then a year later became a certified personal trainer. And then in 2016, I got my health coaching certification and also became a business owner. So for those of you that have been around in my circle, maybe you remember Healing in Motion back in the early days. We are now Remade Wellness that incorporates a lot more holistic approach to living well with autoimmune. I was a wellness coordinator for Axos, and then in 2018, I became a certified strength and conditioning specialist. So now a lot of what I do is focused around strength training as a tool to help strengthen your body and your immune system to be more resilient so that you can reduce those flare-ups. I believe that dis-ease originates from a deeper source other than just physical symptoms alone. I really believe that it's not just one or the other. The body is very complex in the way it expresses symptoms. So I very much believe that it is the physical combined with the emotional, the spiritual, and the psychological aspects of it all. The thoughts and beliefs that we hold from our experiences can manifest as physical symptoms. And so I created the Remade method to help you identify those emotions that you might be holding on in your body and help you release them through movement. Some of my other interests include being a plant mom. I love plants. I have a 5-year-old boxer named Cinnamon, and she is a wild child. I also enjoy writing and blogging. A lot of you probably follow me on social media. If you do not, I would love to be connected with you on Instagram at Daniela.Spear. I will share some of my contact information at the very end as well. I also enjoy traveling with my husband, and don't let the health coach title fool you. I'm a huge lover of M&Ms. So if you ever just are feeling gracious and want to just send some M&Ms my way, I'd really appreciate that. All right, let's talk a little bit. Whoops. Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about what we are going to go over today. We're going to define what wellness means. We're going to talk about your environment. We're going to cover some breathing techniques as well as what hydration means. By the way, if you are watching this from home and you do not have a glass of water next to you right now, pause this video, grab some water. I have mine right next to me. I love to stay hydrated. And then we are also going to cover some intentional movement at the end. So let's dive in. All right, let's talk about what wellness means. The World Health Organization defines wellness as a state of complete mental and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So what that means in context of autoimmune disease, does it mean that in order for us to be well, does that mean our lupus has to be cured? We aren't expressing any symptoms? Everything's perfect, right? It almost sometimes feels like wellness is this like state of perfection that we might not ever really reach. And for some of us, that can actually prevent us from implementing wellness practices if it feels like something that just is never going to be for us. And having a diagnosis like lupus can really take a toll on your mental health and in your hope of ever feeling well. So I want to clarify that wellness is not just a complete state of perfection where you don't have any aches or pains, you don't have any mental health issues, you're not struggling socially. It's not any of those things. It is living well, it is being well, practicing wellness within the realm of experiencing some of the hardships that we might be facing. So well-being, to be well, is to practice wellness in the presence of lupus. So when we talk about wellness today, I want you to think about it from the perspective of to practice wellness, to practice being well within the presence of lupus. So you can very much experience wellness. You can experience well-being even with a lupus diagnosis. And I also want to cover this term healing. I'm going to use it in the presentation today, but I know that the term healing can be a little bit controversial, can be a little bit triggering for individuals that feel like they aren't able to heal because they have this chronic illness. And that might be you today. You might experience people coming into your DMs or sending you Facebook messages around supplements and juices and wellness programs that healed their lupus or that healed their neighbor's cousin's sister's lupus. And you might feel like that's not for you. You might maybe experience thoughts that well, that's not for me because mine is chronic and it won't go away. So when I am talking about healing today, I am not referring to the complete eradication of lupus from your life, okay? When I talk about healing, I am talking about the process. So again, this is a practice, just like wellness is a practice, healing is a practice as well. The practice of making or becoming sound or healthy again. So when we are in the process of healing, when we are healed, that doesn't necessarily mean that our lupus has gone away. Maybe it's in remission, maybe it's not in remission, but healing is the well-being of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state around, and again, in the presence of lupus. So again, when I talk about healing today, I'm talking about the process of healing and the practice of wellness and healing. So let's talk about what causes autoimmune disease, because if we want to think about living well, we also have to kind of take a step back and look at what even causes autoimmune disease in the first place. What causes lupus? The three most known causes: genetics, environment, and diet and lifestyle. And I'm here today to disrupt your thought that you cannot control any of these, that you don't have control in any of these areas. And you might be thinking, well, Danny, like genetics, that's just like biology, that's science. Like, how do we have any control over our genetics, right? Like maybe we can control our environment. We can definitely control our diet and lifestyle, but like genetics is one that sounds a little bit more outside of our realm of control, right? Not true. The second two, the environment and diet and lifestyle, actually very heavily influence our genetics. So the study of epigenetics is the study of how certain factors turn on or off specific genes, which is why, you know, some people will develop lupus earlier in life, where some people might develop it later in life. And so, you know, we are all born with like these very, very different genetic codes, and our experiences, our thoughts, our internal and external environment, our diet and lifestyle are all factors that influence whether or not those genes turn on or off, and when they are turned on and off. So genetics, environment, diet, and lifestyle are very, very much within our power to control. And even if you have a specific gene turned on that expresses itself as lupus or as another autoimmune disease, it is possible to reverse that and have that gene become dormant. So I want you to have hope that you do have more say in your well-being, your wellness, and healing than you might initially believe. And that is my goal for today, is to hand back that power to you and make you feel, allow you to feel that you are very, very much empowered in the well-being of lupus, like of managing your lupus. So we're going to dive into talking about environment first. And I love this quote by Dr. Perry Nicholson. He is a chiropractor that also specializes in the teaching of lymphatic drainage, and he teaches a lot on the lymphatic system. He says, you cannot get well in the same environment that made you sick. And this is exactly what I was just referring to, that, you know, our internal and external environment can influence those specific genes. And maybe when a specific gene is turned on is when you experience your lupus symptoms or any other autoimmune symptoms. But so whatever in your environment that you are experiencing that caused that gene to turn on, if nothing changes, it will continue to stay on. So you cannot get well in the same environment that made you sick. Some changes need to happen. And we're going to talk about some of those changes. We're going to talk about your internal environment. And yes, this is about mindset, but no, it's not just about positive affirmations. I don't know if any of you have ever had any experience with positive affirmations, and maybe you're just repeating to yourself, like, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself in the mirror 100 times a day, and it doesn't change anything, right? Sometimes I feel like positive affirmations are like not an excuse, but more of just like something that's like light and fluffy, and you just say it and people are just like, well, just practice positive mindset, right? Positive affirmations. And you feel like, yeah, right, these things don't work. So we are going to talk about some very strategic mindset shifts that are not just positive affirmations, and I'm going to explain to you why. So our environment, this acronym, CTFAR. This is the way that our brain works. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about brain science and neurology, okay? This is how the brain works, okay? So when we experience a circumstance, it is actually a neutral event, okay? So a circumstance, something that happens. For the purposes of this presentation, let's just use a lupus diagnosis, okay? Despite what you might believe, it is actually a neutral event. It is not good, it is not bad, until you have a thought about it, okay? So you experience an event, and immediately when you experience an event, you have a thought, and that thought is, this is good, this is bad, okay? So, and that's with anything. It's like trying a flavor of ice cream for the first time. Trying the ice cream is a neutral event until you have a thought about it. This is good, this is bad, right? And that's exactly why people have like different favorite flavors of ice cream. I don't know why I'm talking about ice cream. I think I want some, but it just is an example, right? Maybe people like hiking, other people don't. Like hiking is a neutral event until you have decided this is good, this is bad, right? And that thought is going to produce a feeling, okay? So we first experience the event, we have a thought about the event, and that thought produces a feeling. And those feelings can be anger, frustration, happiness, joy, passion, rage, calmness, peacefulness, whatever that feeling is, that feeling comes from our thought, okay? And then from that feeling, we take an action. And sometimes that action is inaction, okay? And from that action, we produce a result, okay? And I want to point this out to you, that your result will always prove your thought correct, okay? So I'm gonna go to the next slide, and I want to show you the difference between how our brain operates and how some of us think that we operate, okay? CFART. That's right, C fart. Okay, go ahead and laugh, because some of us operate from the C fart mentality and it smells, okay? So what we believe is that we have a circumstance, we have a feeling about it, that feeling produces an action, that action produces a result, and then we have a thought about it, right? And so this is where thinking of like, it's not my fault, I don't have any responsibility over this, comes into play. And then things like you're wanting your circumstances to change, and then you'll have a thought. Like, for example, if I were to tell you that you can reverse your lupus by drinking apple cider vinegar every morning, right? Don't go do that. This is just an example, okay? You're gonna be like, yeah, right, I will believe it when I see it. So your expectation is that you are going to drink this apple cider vinegar, but you don't believe that it's going to work, right? But you do it anyways, and you expect that once your lupus is reversed, then you'll go back and believe that the apple cider vinegar worked, right? Maybe a more applicable example is experiencing pain and using exercise to reduce pain. Some of you maybe feel like, well, I can't exercise because I have pain, but you know that exercising will help you reduce that pain. But because you have pain, you won't exercise, right? So you are expecting the result before you change the thought, because your thought is, I have pain and nothing will help it. All right, if you kind of reverse engineer maybe your thoughts and beliefs around exercise, you can pinpoint like what the result will be, right? So someone who doesn't, we'll say like someone who doesn't believe that exercise will help them, right? So for them, the circumstance is experience pain, and the feeling is frustration, right? So I'm giving you this CTFAR process. And so you experience a circumstance, you have a feeling, you're frustrated, and you don't believe that anything will help your pain. So what's your action? You don't take any action. Sometimes that action is inaction. And what's the result? You continue to have pain. And you expect that once you don't have pain, then you'll believe, then the thought will be, oh, this helps me. When the reality is our brain works from a thought, feeling, action, result perspective, right? So our brain works differently than we might think it works. And so the circumstance would be, I have pain, and the thought is, exercise can help me. The feeling is maybe hopefulness. And so you take action, you exercise, and the result is you reduce pain, right? And so that thought has to come first. And so I want you to start thinking about, like, what thoughts do you have around wellness? What thoughts do you have around lupus, even your lupus diagnosis, right? Is it a bad feeling? Is it a good, is it like a thought that this is bad or this is good? And what feelings come from those thoughts, right? Because the result that you have will always prove your thought right. So if your result is currently continued lupus flare-ups, another diagnosis, maybe reverse engineer and say, what actions am I taking? What feelings am I experiencing? Maybe what thoughts am I having, right? And let's actually go over some common thoughts and beliefs around autoimmune disease, around chronic illness, around having lupus. So here we have a thought, a meaning, and a bridge belief. So some common beliefs around healing. And this is also some of those thoughts around having a chronic illness. So I'll walk you through all of this. So maybe the thought is, it's chronic, it doesn't just go away. So for those of you that are maybe feeling frustrated, your doctor has said that this is something that you're experiencing for life. I am not negating what your doctor has told you. I am not saying that your disease will just go away, but what I am hoping to encourage you with is that your symptoms can be reversed, okay? So it's chronic, it doesn't just go away. So someone that it says it's chronic maybe has that, that's the thought, right? It's chronic, it doesn't go away. Maybe that feeling is hopelessness, right? And so what is the action? You don't take action because you don't believe that anything can make it go away. And so you continue to experience these symptoms for a long time, and it is chronic, it doesn't go away, right? So when we have a thought, we often make that thought mean something about us, okay? Sometimes we take those thoughts and make them mean something personal, about us. And so I'm going to break this down for you. It's chronic. It doesn't just go away. What that can often mean is I am not deserving of good health. When the thought is it's chronic, it just doesn't go away, there is likely a deeper internal belief that I am not deserving of good health. And so what do? We don't just practice affirmation of like, I believe in healing, I believe in healing, I believe in healing, right? We reverse that thought. I am not deserving of good health. Maybe that thought, that bridge belief for you can be, I welcome healing into my life, right? And so notice the difference between it's chronic, it doesn't just go away, and I welcome healing into my life. Notice how those two feel, like they feel so different, right? And from our feelings, we take action, right? When we have a different thought, we experience a different feeling, we take a different action. So I welcome healing into my life. You were going to be more likely to take actions that support that healing and well-being. Let's look at this next one. We'll look at the next two because they're very similar. This is how it will always be. I will always have X, Y, and Z. I want to give you an example of a client I was speaking to not long ago, and she had come to me for some advice with exercise, and she said, I will have flare-ups for the rest of my life. And I looked at her and I said, well, how do you know? And she said, well, I guess I don't, right? But her thought was, I will have flare-ups for the rest of my life. And that can produce a very, very hopeless feeling. And from that action, you are going to take actions that support you having flare-ups, right? Maybe you don't even bother to eat a healthier diet, even though we know that that can influence the expression of autoimmune symptoms, because your thought, your belief is, I will always have flare-ups, so why bother, right? Why bother to eat a healthier menu of items, a healthier diet, right? And so the result is you continue to have flare-ups. So let's look at these two. This is how it will always be. I will always have X, Y, Z. Fill in the blank for you. What you are saying when you say this is how it'll always be, this I will always have this, is you are saying I am not capable of change. You are making that a personal statement, whether you're aware of it or not, right? So some of these are very, very much subconscious thoughts. You are saying I am not capable of change. My body is not capable of change. So maybe a bridge belief for you can be, I am willing to change and to grow. I am creating a safe new future, right? So I am willing, I am creating. That is the process, right? So we go back to that word, the practice, the process, which is what wellness and healing are. They are practices and processes that are ongoing, right? And maybe some of you might have the thought, but my pain is different, right? You see other people healing. Maybe you're like looking at me and saying, well, Coach Dani, that's so nice for you, but like my situation is different, right? Like my pain is much worse than yours. And I have, all these other things. So my situation's different, like good for you, but mine's different. What are you really saying? You're saying no one understands me. You're saying, Coach Dani, you just don't get it. Like mine's just different. No one understands me. And I would challenge you and ask you, do you understand you? Right? Because the things that we reflect onto other people are often representative of what we feel, right? And so when we have that thought, no one understands me, I want to challenge you to think, do you understand you? Do you understand you in a way that you can communicate? Do you understand you well enough to communicate to someone else how you feel, right? Because if the thought is no one understands me, right? There's that feeling of like hopelessness, why bother? No one understands. What's going to happen? What's your action? You're going to stay quiet, right? You're not even going to bother to explain to people how you feel. And so what's the result? They're not going to understand how you feel, right? So when the thought is, but my pain's different, no one understands me, how do we shift that? Maybe we move into a season of getting to know ourselves, like getting to know, well, how do I really feel? What do I need to feel better? What do I need for support? Are you able to clearly communicate that to those around you, to your support team, to your medical team, to your family, to your friends, right? A lot of times I encounter individuals with chronic illness that say, like, my friends and family have left me. When the truth is, like, they have pushed their family and friends away because they didn't know how to communicate to them, didn't know how to ask for what they needed. So I want to show you that your thoughts very much influence your environment. So your internal environment influences your external environment. So maybe you welcome yourself into a season of getting to know yourself so that you can very much communicate and welcome in help. You welcome in that healing, right? So again, these are not just positive affirmations. These are very significant mindset shifts. These are shifts that happen because you are aware of your subconscious thoughts, right? This is not just, I love myself, right? These are very genuine thoughts that shift our beliefs. So maybe spend some time reverse engineering, looking at what are your results? What actions are you taking? What feelings are you experiencing? Maybe what thoughts are you having? The beliefs that you hold about your healing will indeed produce the results that you experience. But let's move on to the next part of our presentation, the breath, okay? Breathing, everyone just take a deep breath in. Okay, we just talked about some very heavy things. We talked about our mindset, we talked about our feelings, and we know that can get very heavy. So let's just deep breath in and out, okay? And I want you to notice, how do you feel? Maybe you felt like your shoulders drop away from your ears. Maybe you felt your jaw unclench with that breath. Your breath is the connection between your nervous system and your immune system. So I want you to hear me. I'm going to say it again. Your breath is the connection between your nervous system and your immune system. So if you want to influence your immune system, breathe, take a breath, okay? And let me show you how this happens. Let me explain to you, okay? We know, I don't have to tell anyone here that stress is a trigger of flare-ups, of those symptoms, right? Whenever we are under significant amount of stress, we start to feel it. We start to feel it in our hands, in those little joints. It starts to creep up. We start to experience that fatigue, and suddenly we're waking up with brain fog. Maybe we're not getting out of bed, and it's total chaos, right? Total chaos in our body. And we want you to be aware of, where do you experience stress? In your nervous system. So your nervous system has two sides to it: your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. So this is how we function as humans. Again, little science for you. Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight, right? This is the nervous system that keeps you awake, keeps you alert, helps you navigate traffic, navigate the busy grocery store. You recall information during a test. You're awake, you're aware of your surroundings, right? And your parasympathetic nervous system, this one, helps you, is your rest and digest. So that is the sympathetic, excuse me, getting all of my words mixed up. So your parasympathetic nervous system is the one that helps you come back to this place of rest, of calmness, of relaxation. This is what helps you sleep, right, at night. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the one that helps you kind of turn off. The issue is that a lot of us are living with the sympathetic, that on nervous system, and it's just on all the time, okay? And we lose our ability to like transition between the two, right? And this is why we have a hard time just sitting without doing anything. Where are my overachievers? I see you, I am you, okay? We have a hard time maybe sitting still because we always feel like there's something that needs to be done, right? Or even if we are sitting still, our mind is just racing, and like, this needs to be done. I need to do this. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this and this, right? And when we are trying to go to sleep, where are my friends that have a hard time falling asleep? Or wake up in the middle of the night and then you can't fall back to sleep. There is a disruption between the two nervous systems. They are not working in unison anymore. They are disconnected, right? And our breath is how we reconnect them. But when our nervous system is in chaos, guess what? It tells the rest of the body to be in chaos because it thinks you're in danger, and your nervous system is on. It needs to take care of everything, and it's telling everyone freak out. We're under attack. Like, this must be done. And your immune system is like, oh my gosh, okay, like I need to do all of these things. And guess what? Your immune system becomes overactive, right? And then it just like starts like attacking like literally everything that's in this way, right? And that is at its essence what lupus is. It is our immune system attacking our healthy tissue. It is an overactive immune system. Why? Because we have an overactive nervous system that is communicating to our immune system like, it is time to freak out, right? And you might be laughing, you might be chuckling, and it sounds a little funny, but this is what we face, right? Our nervous system communicates to our immune system. And I want to give a little note here too about the lymphatic system. So our lymphatic system is part of our immune system. And the lymphatic system is, think of it as like the aquarium kind of the body, the like fluid of the body, right? And it runs all through your body, and it runs alongside your circulatory system. So kind of think of it like kind of some like long veins and pathways. And it also clusters around some major joints like the neck, the shoulders, the hips. You have like those lymph nodes, right? We've all felt them like when we are sick, we feel those lymph nodes swollen around in our neck, right? That is the lymphatic system working. When we feel those like swollen glands, it is getting rid of that inflammation. The problem is that a lot of times the lymphatic system can become stagnant. Okay, and it is not able to push that amazing fluid through the body, and therefore it cannot clear out inflammation. This is why inflammation accumulates in maybe certain areas of the body. And the breath is one way that we can move that lymphatic fluid. So when fluid becomes stagnant, that is when metabolic waste, cellular waste can accumulate and cause disruptions in the immune system as well. And so the whole goal of breathing is to help regulate that nervous system, regulate the lymphatic system, keep all systems functioning well. And so you might be thinking like, well, Danny, how do I implement breathing? Like, I don't have time. I just can't sit still. Like, you might be thinking like, oh, I need to sit and meditate and breathe deeply. Yes, that is one way, but that is not the only way. Just simply by being aware of how you're breathing can make a huge impact. So some of us, we are shallow breathers. We breathe from our chest, right? A little bit of an exaggeration here on my part, but we tend to breathe from our chest versus from our rib cage, from our diaphragm, right? Like, are we moving up and down in that breath versus in a 360 motion, right? So I want you to just take a deep breath in. And I want you to notice what moves. Is it your chest? Or do you feel that rib cage expand in all directions, right? So are you a chest breather? Are you a diaphragmatic breather? And we're going to practice diaphragmatic breathing, because when we can move our breath from here to here, we get a deeper breath, a more saturated breath, saturated with oxygen. And how does oxygen help us? Oxygen is the key ingredient to regenerating cells, cells that are sick, cells that are dying. We need saturated oxygen. We need that oxygen to enter our systems to restore, regenerate those cells, regenerate those bodily systems. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of a hyperbaric chamber. A lot of like wellness studios, like Restore or like Hydration something, they're kind of starting to pop up everywhere. They're like these places where you go and maybe you get like an IV hydration through IV. There's like the cryotherapy, there's the sauna. It's like where you can go for all these like restorative practices, right? And one of those is a hyperbaric chamber where you kind of lay in this little like cocoon type thing, and it delivers just like a low grade delivery of saturated oxygen for you to breathe in. And a lot of athletes actually use this to help recover between practices, between like tournaments and matches and things like that, or big games. And so if athletes are using it, well, maybe we can use it too, right? And so that little like that extra delivery of oxygen helps saturate the cells, helps like restore, renew everything in the body. But you don't have to go to a wellness place. You don't have to go to a spa. You don't have to sit in a hyperbaric chamber. I'm a little claustrophobic, so I don't know if I'll be sitting in one of those. You can do this yourself. You can do this at home, okay? You can do this at home. And what we're gonna do right now is dive into a little like breathing technique with a scan. We're going to breathe into different areas of our body right now. And you can do this any time of the day. You can do it at the beginning of the day, end of the day, middle of the day, when you just need to like refocus. And it doesn't have to take very long. So what I want you to do is find a comfortable position. I'm actually going to tie my hair back really quick. I'm getting a little hot. I tend to get very passionate when I'm talking about health and wellness. So I want to make sure I stay cool. Okay, so find a comfortable position. Make sure, like if you're in a chair, maybe your feet are flat on the floor, your shoulders down away from your ears, your weight is even on both hips, right? Maybe you like to cross your legs. Whatever is comfortable for you in this moment, find that position, okay? So we are just gonna take a deep breath in and out. You can rest those hands in your lap, rest those palms in the lap. You can go palms down, palms up. Okay, and on this next breath, we're very gently close our eyes. And we're just going to very quickly, almost like if you had a scan machine, just like scan down the body from the head all the way down to the hips, the legs, the feet, and just observe, okay? We're not making any judgments. We're not saying, oh, this is bad, this is wrong. We are just observing. Where do we feel tension? Take a deep breath in and out. We're going to start at the top of the head. Maybe we make note of our eyebrows, our temples, our cheeks, our jaw. And we just breathe and exhale any tension in that area. We breathe in oxygen, breathe in that good saturated oxygen, and then release tension. And we're gonna move down into the neck, in the shoulders, the same thing. We're just gonna observe and breathe into that space. And move down into the chest, the upper back, that torso, that midsection. Breathing in and out. And move down into the hips and observe, are we holding tension in our hips? Breathe into those hips and exhale. And down into the legs and then the knees. And then into the lower legs, the shins, the calves, the ankles, and the feet. Breathe and exhale. Feel that tension melt away into the floor. And just like we did at the beginning, I want you to just imagine like a big scan machine just kind of running down your entire body and just noticing the difference in how you feel right now. Take another deep breath in and release any tension that might still be remaining. And we'll start to bring our awareness back into the room. Maybe we start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Start to move the arms, the legs. And when you're ready, you open up those eyes. Don't we all feel a little bit more calm? I know Coach Danny here was getting a little passionate in teaching, but maybe we feel a little bit more centered. Yeah. So this is just a simple technique that I like to do just to check in with myself, and even referring back to that question, well, what do I need to feel supported? This is a great technique to start with. Just checking in with yourself and asking, what do I need? Okay. And let's move on to hydration, another one of my favorite topics. So if you have some water, if you haven't had any this entire presentation, go ahead and take a sip. Now, hydration, contrary to what you might believe, is not just about how much water you drink, right? We see all of those health coaches drinking a gallon of water a day, and you might feel like that is impossible. It's actually about how much your body absorbs, okay? The water is not serving you if it just goes straight through the body, okay? You are actually doing more damage by drinking too much water. It can flush out really important electrolytes and vitamins and minerals. But you might be asking, well, how do I know if my body is absorbing water? I want to tell you, okay? So yes, drinking water is important. We need to stay hydrated, especially in these hot, humid North Carolina months. Okay, first, let's talk about, what does dehydration look like? Dehydration looks like fatigue, hunger, brain fog, headaches, joint pain, stiffness, trouble sleeping, bloating, moodiness. What does that sound like? A lupus flare, right? So it is possible that you might not be experiencing a lupus flare. You might be experiencing dehydration, okay? Or you might be experiencing a flare because of prolonged dehydration. So the two are very similar. You can confuse one for the other. The way that I ensure I know, am I having a lupus flare-up or am I dehydrated, is by staying hydrated, right? If I can rule out dehydration, and if I can know I am hydrating my body well and I'm still experiencing pain, then I know it is lupus activity, right? But when we are mistakenly treating a lupus flare, when in reality is dehydration, we are not getting to the source of the issue, right? And so this is why hydration, optimal hydration is very, very important. So optimal hydration looks like quick reaction times, clear thinking, that clarity, no more brain fog, control over our emotions and responses, greater concentration and productivity, and an abundance of energy. So it is estimated that about 75% of adults experience low-grade chronic dehydration. That means the majority of you watching this right now are likely dehydrated. And you might be asking again, okay, Danny, but how do I make my body absorb water? How do I know, right? And I want to tell you about something called structured water. You might also hear me refer to this as gel water, okay? So structured water is water that is combined with electrolytes, trace minerals, and fiber, okay? So those four ingredients, you need water, electrolytes, trace minerals, and fiber, and all four of those together are gonna help you absorb water more efficiently. That water is going to go into the deepest parts of your cells and quench your body's thirst. Okay, where do we find structured water? Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. So the more that we can implement hydrating foods like fruits and vegetables, the better our body will become at absorbing the water that we do drink, okay? So start thinking about where might you be able to incorporate some hydrating foods, right? Maybe adding some berries into your morning oatmeal, having a very, very colorful salad or side salad with your lunch, getting in vegetables like bell peppers and zucchini that are very hydrating into our dinner. Start thinking about where you might incorporate some very hydrating fruits and vegetables into your day. Maybe we switch out that afternoon bag of chips for a more hydrating apple. Okay, maybe we switch out that granola bar for a very juicy orange or watermelon or peaches. So many good fruits are in season right now. Now is the time to start incorporating those hydrating habits. So you can also make some structured water. And this is the water recipe that I drink every morning. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, you have likely seen this in my stories somewhere. I take 10 to 12 ounces of warm water, and I take somewhere between a teaspoon to a tablespoon of squeezed lemon juice. I add in a pinch of salt and a teaspoon of chia seeds. So that salt is our electrolytes, that lemon juice is our trace minerals and vitamins, and then the chia seeds are our fiber, okay? And you can add in some fresh herbs if you'd like. Maybe you are doing this as more of like an afternoon drink. You can add in some herbs and maybe some other fruits to flavor that water, but adding in that citrus and sea salt for those electrolytes and vitamins and minerals is going to be really, really important in helping you absorb that water, okay? And I want you to hear me out. This is not some like weight loss lemon water, drink this every morning. This is about helping your body absorb water. And I drink this in the mornings so that the rest of the day, my body is prepared to receive water, the water that I drink. So this is just very easy to put together in the mornings, and it's a very easy way to ensure that you are starting your day hydrated and help reduce some of those dehydration symptoms / flare-up symptoms. And I want you to think about this, okay? We drink our water. When we drink water, we can eat our water in our fruits and vegetables and structured water, right? We eat our water. And then we have to move our water, right? We take it in, and then we have to help it get to where it needs to go, right? So that brings us to the last and final part of this presentation, movement, very intentional movement. Movement is the medicine for creating change in a person's physical, emotional, and mental states. Wow. Okay. If we want change, we move, right? It is metaphorical. It is literal. Movement is medicine for change. Okay. And this is why I am so passionate about teaching movement, incorporating strength training to help autoimmune warriors, lupus warriors be strong, resilient, and change the progression of their diagnosis, okay? It is possible with movement to change the outcome, and especially with an autoimmune disease like lupus that is degenerative in nature to our soft tissue, to those ligaments, those tendons that support our joints, right? It is very degenerative. Using movement, using strength training can slow that progression, if not reverse it. And the stronger we are, the more resilient we are going to become against that degenerative nature of lupus. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and stand up if you are able. You are welcome to stay seated for this part. You can still participate. If you would like to join me and stand up, I invite you to do so. I'm going to take my hair up one more time, and I'm going to stand up, and we are going to do just a short amount of movement, okay? And so these three: expansive, spinal, and rotational. I'm going to go ahead and stand up and change the view of my camera here. Okay, so hopefully we can still see me. Expansive, spinal, and rotational. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing so you can all see me a little bit better. Hello. We are going to talk about these three forms of movement: expansive, spinal, and rotational. And you might be asking, well, Coach Danny, why are we focusing on these specific three? These three areas of movement, these three types of movement, are the movements that make us human, right? And that is a personal philosophy of mine in how I coach my clients, how I teach movement, is that if I can teach you movement that enhances your humanness, then I am doing my job. I am helping you prolong that humanness through life. And so when we talk about expansive movement, we talk about movement that takes up space around us, right? It is expansive. And how do we do that? With our breath. So surprise, we have already practiced expansive movement during our presentation today. During that breathing exercise, we were practicing expansive movement. So let's go ahead and just breathe again, right? Let's welcome some more breathing in. Take a deep breath in. And I want you to just feel your rib cage expand in all directions. And so how many of you tend to hold your breath when you're exercising, right? We need to breathe. We need to breathe when we move, and when we breathe, we are inviting some of that oxygen into our bodies that our muscles need during exercise. So expansive movement. If any of you were to work with me, you would know that I start all of my training sessions with breathing, okay? Again, breathing is that connection from our nervous system to our immune system. It is our connection to ourselves. And I believe that movement is something that is so personal to our bodies, and so unique to us that when we breathe, we are inviting in a very unique experience. So when we expand and take up space, we become more of ourselves, more of us, more of who we are, right? We often feel like lupus, autoimmune disease, takes away a part of who we are. And I want to invite you to breathe and welcome yourself back into your body, okay? We breathe. Okay, spinal movement, number 2. When we use our spine, we are moving as we were designed to move. I know that a lot of coaches in the past, maybe just fitness in general, has had this message of neutral spine in everything that you do. While that is purposeful for preventing injury, fitness in general is moving towards a more spinal way of moving, because as humans, we don't always just like pick up something from the floor here, right? Or we're not just like, let me sit down into my chair. No, we move our spine. And why do back injuries happen? Because we haven't trained our spine to carry the load to get into the positions that it was in when we heard it, right? We have to practice different movement. So we're going to right now, it's just a quick little spinal roll. And we're going to start with those arms by our side and take a deep breath in. I'm going to combine that expansive with the spinal and tuck that chin in. We're going to start to roll that head forward, keeping the shoulders relaxed. We're going to roll those shoulders forward, start to roll that torso forward, the body forward, until you come to this hanging position. And you can allow yourself to hang here for a moment, feeling the neck and shoulders relax. And when you're ready, I want you to start to bend those knees and start to push those hips forward. So as you push those hips forward, you're going to feel that spine rolling back up, one vertebrae at a time, and roll those shoulders back up. Okay, let's do that one more time. Deep breath in and exhale. Roll the shoulders forward, the torso, the body, all the way forward, just feeling that spine moving one vertebrae at a time. And then when you're ready, we're going to bend those knees, push the hips forward. You're going to feel that spine coming up one vertebrae at a time, allowing the neck and shoulders, the head, to be the last thing to come up. Whew. That is so invigorating to your spine. It really activates that cerebral spinal fluid, and you really start to get connected with every inch of your body. Hello. It's a great one to do in the mornings. It really helps wake you up. All right, rotational. Okay, the reason I am such a proponent of rotational movement is because our body naturally rotates in everything that we do, including basic movement like walking. If you are standing up, I want you to just walk around for a moment. When we walk, right, we just think of like, oh, we're walking. What's really happening, when I step forward with my right foot, my left shoulder slightly rotates forward. When I step with my left foot, right, my right shoulder slightly rotates. So rotation, even though subtle, is a really, really important part of how we move as humans. And so it is important that we incorporate rotation into our movement practices, right? And so again, going back to that idea of this very neutral, rigid spine, right? We don't just move like this. No, we turn, right? You ever, reach for snacks in the back seat? Like you reach back behind you, you turn, you rotate. And this is why it's so important to train our body to move as we do in real life, to help prepare our body for the things that we do in day to day. So I want you to take those feet wide, arms are gonna hang by your side, and we're just gonna rotate. We're gonna rotate side to side. Maybe you feel a little snap, crackle, and pop, that's okay. And even feel free to incorporate your feet. And I'm turning my feet and kind of rotating, and I'm just adding some movement, some of the rotational movement into my spine. And doesn't that feel good? Nice work. Let's go ahead and bring it back to center. Roll the shoulders down away from the ears. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for that little movement session. We covered expansive, spinal, rotational. So those three areas that make us more human. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to our presentation, and I will share my screen again. Oh, well, now I need to find it. Here we are. Okay, so we are back at our presentation, and that is going to wrap up our presentation today. Final thing I want to leave you with is that the things we covered today, our environment, our breath, our hydration, our movement, are so effective because they require you. Okay. There is this element of unfamiliarity in autoimmune disease. We almost become foreign to our own bodies, right? And, you know, it's just the nature of autoimmune disease. Our immune system is attacking our body because we are unfamiliar to ourselves, okay? And these four elements of wellness, your environment, your breath, hydration, and movement, require you to come back to yourself. All of these are a part of coming back, almost like coming home to your own body. Okay, and they each hold up a mirror to us. And maybe we don't implement these practices because the truth is they hold up a mirror to who we are, the practices that we partake in, or maybe don't partake in, and maybe we don't want to look at what we see. And we have become unfamiliar. Maybe we don't want to look at it because we don't recognize it anymore. We don't recognize ourselves anymore. And so I want to invite you in to take a look at your environment, to notice your breath, to practice intentional hydration, and to move your body regularly, because each of these are an invitation to come back home to your body and to feel like yourself, to reconnect with yourself after a diagnosis with lupus. Doesn't mean that lupus is just going to miraculously disappear. And it doesn't mean that the pharmaceutical treatments that you are working through with your doctor are going to become unnecessary. Not at all. In fact, all of these practices helps to enhance what you are working on with your medical team. Okay. This is a part of it. This is not, it's not just what your doctor says. It's not just what the health coach says. They come together. And these four elements are an invitation to come back home to yourself, which is an important part of healing. All right, everyone, thank you so much for sharing this time with me, for spending the last hour or so learning with me, learning from me. It's been a pleasure to teach you all. It is always a joy to come back and share my knowledge with the Lupus Foundation of North Carolina, which I hold so dearly to my heart. If you have any questions around what I covered today, if you want some more explanation, or maybe how do I apply this to my life specifically, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is hello@remadewellness.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Daniela.Spear. I will respond to the DMs and emails. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know any significant takeaways. Maybe what are you going to implement this week? What will you begin practicing? What resonated with you the most? And I want to thank you again for sharing this time with me.